What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be installing all new suspension in the front, new struts, new lower control arms. We've already done tie rods, sway bar in links, and then we're also going to be installing the new strut mounts as well. And I'll go over all of that in a little bit. We also have rear shocks and the vent for the gas tank. This is what I've ordered. We got Moog lower control arms for the front, and then we got these shocks for the rear, 2 of them. One I have to send back because it came to me pre-opened and blown. It was leaking. And then the struts. This is this little valve. And it was cheapest on Rock Auto, and it also came with the little adapter cable. The other ones, like the AC Delco one, did not come with this. You had to buy it separate, and it was like $20 more. And this was like one of the favorites. So there's that. In this box, got the lower control arm. I've already taken the paper out of this one. Show you in here. This is how it comes packed. Just like that. And then these, it's just the shock. Comes with a little nut for the end. Shock's down there. Now you may be wondering why the door panels are out of the car. These are for the rear. That's because I tinted the windows, and I didn't video it because it was just something I was doing in a short time frame. But I should have, because it was annoying. I tried to shrink it with the heat gun, and the tint I got was just cheap $15 AutoZone tint. Garbage. Just not great. But I got it slapped on there, and I'll show you the results. It's not the greatest, like I said, and I'm not the greatest at installing tint by any means, so there's some bubbles. But I did it for the heat, and it's working. It's supposed to be 100 soon, in a few days, so put it to the test, but here's the look at it. First of all, it makes the car look a lot more sleek than before. I did these front windows. It's locked. These front windows here are less than the rear. The rear is all 5%. But yeah, it's not too bad. You can see the few little bubbles. My fault. I have this out because I accidentally got water in here and it was making the locks unlock and lock rapidly. Don't mind, it's a little dirty in here, but just the rest. The 5% is definitely blue. It's the same brand tint and everything. I also did the tiny corner windows and failed at cutting that one. I was just using leftover pieces from the regular windows, and here's the door panels. Those are off. Rear window was definitely my kryptonite, as you can see. It's just terrible. I'm going to redo it. I had to shrink it with the heat gun because it just wasn't going to work. The curve on this window is too large, and I'm not good at that, like first time doing it. So it kind of failed, but I just chucked it on anyways so that there wasn't dark windows and then no tint on the back. It looked kind of funny. So I'm going to peel that off and redo it, but that's a different time. Now with the new suspension, the front should be a little higher, same height as the back. Right now it's lower and it's kind of raked down. We should get a lot less bounce in it. No more noise from the front. And no more clunking from the strut mounts up here. That will be way better. As well as, hopefully it will drive straight. And I won't have to constantly be correcting it. Every time we hit a bump, it kind of moves a little, you know, bad lower control arm bushings and bad struts. So that way it should be all better. Yeah, that'll be nice. Also, this could definitely use some wheel spacers. Also, don't mind the dirtiness of everything, like the wheels. and the brakes, they're a little rusty because I just hosed it off to get the dust off so I could polish the windows a little. So after I got this aligned, they rotated my tires and they scuffed my wheels. Like, I'm guessing they used the impact and the socket ran around and hit the corners and chipped my paint, which is lovely. You can see it on almost all of them. See right here? There's a whole bunch. Right there. And right here. I've never had a good alignment experience at Firestone. They either leave giant marks on the face of my wheels from their alignment machine, or this time they scuffed them. And I've never gone out of Firestone with a straight alignment. Even in my truck. I got my truck aligned there twice, never was straight. Took it to another place that was straight for a little bit, and then some parts failed and it went out. So I don't know, I won't be going there again. So off camera yesterday, I went to the junkyard. I found this little baby antenna. It's not the right size for it, so I'm gonna have to do something about that, or just leave it. I also was able to find shades for this that work on both sides. Because previously, one was broken. It was cut off. That was a pain to get in because you're supposed to drop the whole headliner. But I just loosened these screws in the back here, and this came down a tiny bit, and I was able to fit my hand in here with the miniature socket and unscrew the 2 tiny screws and take it out, but that took forever. Not to mention the actual glass was about 1,000 degrees because it was sitting in the sun, and it was like 96 yesterday. So I kept burning my knuckles on it, but after like 30 minutes, I got it done. Maybe an hour. It was a while. Definitely took longer than an oil change, but I got it done. So a little update. I had to take this panel off right here because the third brake light seal was broken. I didn't know it. I mean, I had heard a whistling when the wind would blow behind me, but I figured it was just like the little sunroof back there. There was a leak in it, but I couldn't figure out where. And I was washing the car one day, and water just started pouring inside from this area, and it filled this tray up, actually. So I was like, uh-oh. I took the panel off and figured out the seal was broken, so I took the light out, and I can't find a new seal anywhere for it. So I hot glued the seal together and back to the back of the headlight or taillight housing, and I don't think it's leaked since. But only issue, this is broken. So right here where it clips in here, it's ripped so it won't stay on, and these two are busted. So I need to find this piece, and this color is rare for the interior of a MAXX, and I can't find one at the junkyard. All of them are tan, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe try and glue it, not sure. But that's the situation with this. Now that I've updated you all on the car, let's get started with the new parts. Okay, here's the car on bumps before the new suspension. Just the overall sounds of the car. The wheel isn't totally straight either. 20 over that bump. Over this one. Just kind of loud. As you can see, it's very dark in here. It's actually a lot darker in person than in the camera, but it's really nice. Like, it makes the heat way less horrible and goes for a nicer driving experience. One thing I do want to do is put a strip up here because the sunlight is very harsh down on the steering wheel, and it's here's some more bumps. It's not very pleasant. Just listen to the bumps. We'll come back when it's done and drive the same road. Yeah, if the tire stuck out like right here, I think it would look a lot better, because that's pretty far in. It's like from my knuckle that far. I think it would look a lot better sticking out some. These wheels are 1 millimeter more inward than the factory steel wheels, I believe. Pretty sure the offset's 41. No, 42, and the factory is 41. I think maybe like 35 offset would look good. But yeah, that's what I got. It's because these are for cobalt, not as wide. If we go under the back here, see the lowering springs? We're gonna leave those just how they are on both sides. They're still doing fine. I think it would look a lot cooler with like not really a diffuser, but something that went down to hide the exhaust in this piece of the trunk, because it just looks funky from the outside, like from behind, and maybe like a little shroud with dual exhaust tips, kind of like the MAXX. I mean, not the MAXX, kind of like the SS model. I think that would look really cool. And there's these weird little tabs, like something could go there, but everything's still holding up good down here. We're just gonna be replacing this old crusty shocks. I actually did try to get the back lower to match the front. I took one side off and I went to put these springs from the coilovers on there, and I used these little mounts, these adjustable ones, all the way down as far as it would go, and it was at factory height, which the gap would be like up here. It was super tall. So then I took those mounts off and put just the spring, and it was higher than this blue lowering spring, which is actually bigger than this. So I'm guessing these are a little bit more stiff. So I put it back to how it has been since I did the lowering kit. Everything under the hood is still all good. It's almost time for another oil change. It has almost 176,000 miles. I don't remember what it was the last time I videoed. I took the engine cover off. It's sitting over here because heat reasons. It seems like that traps in a bunch of heat, and since it's so hot in Arizona, I just took it off for the time being because it makes me feel better. The intake isn't getting as hot with that plastic insulating it, but yeah, it probably does nothing. I just like it off. And this hood insulation here, it's so cool because it has the Chevy emblem pressed into it, but it's so dirty, and I tried to clean it. Didn't turn out, ended up making it worse right here. But so I don't know if I can find another one of those that's good. I doubt it, but there it is. I mean, it's not a show car, but I would like it to look really nice. All right, so right now we're going to install the Moog lower control arms in the front. And first we need to take the wheel off. Already got the lock in there, and get access to the lower control arm. All right, it's off. It's pretty rusty. Okay, here's the lower control arm. the two mounts. There's two bolts on this, and then one right there. And we have to take this out. There should be, there's a bolt right there that clamps it, and then it should come right out. Here's the new lower control arm. Little plastic cover on that so the boot doesn't get ruined. It looks really nice. Bushings are all amazing. And it's a nice aluminum look too. Lightweight, super lightweight. And it needs the little greaser thing. It comes with it in the package. Yeah, overall I'm pretty impressed with this. For, I think it was maybe $80 each on Rock Auto. Not too bad shipping either. Alright, so I'm gonna get started and try to loosen everything on there, and then I'll video taking it out. But there is one thing that might be a slight issue. The bolt on the right side, I might have to take the motor mount off. I really want to avoid doing that, so I'm going to see if I can just loosen it enough to get the arm out and then have it just barely sticking out so I can put the new one in. But we'll see. So I'll figure all that out off camera so I'm not boring everyone. Then I'll get back to you. Alright, so with a little bit of struggling later, I took the caliper off, it's right there, and the rotor. And we've got this loosened. I stuck a socket in there and the wrench through here, and I was able to just barely catch enough to get it loose. Okay, so let me explain that a little bit. I have a 17mm wrench and a 19mm wrench. No 18 for some reason. Even on the double-sided one. 17, 19. That makes me so mad. That's an 18, and I'm pretty sure most of the parts stores are closed by now. So I couldn't go and get one, so I had to try to use the socket. Otherwise, I would have been able to get it with that. Now I have to see if that can go out far enough to get it, the controller out. We'll see. Then I took the two bolts out of this mount right there. And now I loosened this, and we have to get the pry bar, stick it under there, and try and pop it. So let's do that. Or let's try and pry this ball joint out. Okay, yeah, that's gonna come right out once we unhook everything. Right now it's got the force of the bushing and the shock pushing against it. But yeah, that'll come out as soon as we get everything else undone. Naturally. Just barely not enough. This is into the motor mount. I couldn't figure out how to take the mount off because these long studs go through the top and through the bottom. And then there's 3 bolts holding it to the actual engine. And I jacked it up as far as it would go, and then still nothing. So it was just enough to move this forward and get that out. So now I guess I put the pry bar in there and pry it downward. And after prying on it, it just fell right out. Perfect. Now let's compare them. Well, here's our ball joint. It's actually not that bad. It's the old one next to the new one. Let's look at the bushings. Here's the old one. That's really not too bad. This one, you can barely tell, but it's definitely cracked. Oh yeah, it's all ripped right there. So I'd say that's some of the steering movement. This one's all fancy, brand new. after some finagling, I got it back in. I basically stuck the pry bar underneath the motor mount and lifted it enough for me to pick up the bolt behind it and shove it back into there. And then I threaded it on just enough to where we can put the ball joint in. We need to jack up the control arm to do that. Then we need to jack it up at right height and then torque down that mount right there, that bushing. And then once it's at that, we can torque everything else down. I guess it doesn't really matter the order you do it in, as long as you torque that at right height. Okay, so I was having major difficulties getting the lower ball joint to go back into the knuckle. So I took it back apart and I took the strut out. That way I could lift this up with one hand and set it on top of it and wiggled it on right in place. Now it's perfect. So now I have to put the bolt in and we can torque that down. It actually came with a new one right here. And then I have to put the little greaser on it and grease it up, and then we'll torque everything down. Well, I finally got the last piece of the puzzle. Gosh, that was a mess. So I got the lower control arm on, I got the new strut in with the lowering spring, and everything's bolted up and torqued except for the bushing where it has to be at right height. I got these special tools for it. I'll show you. They're crowfoot wrench adapter things, and that way I can torque this bolt. I can torque this bolt right here without having to remove the motor mount. Here's a look at everything. The new strut with the lowering spring. Everything's all hooked up. I did have to modify this a tiny bit because this is for a Saab and the brake line mount is different. I just used some persuasion and made it work. I need to do it a little more so it's not bent like this, and I have to tighten it still. But everything else is bolted up good. New strut mount. Also, you see this? There's pinholes in this rubber thing. Don't remember what it's called. Anyways, there's pinholes in it. So when I greased it, it started leaking out. And naturally, it's on the side where the brake rotor is going to be. So I'm going to have to glue it. But that's ridiculous. This is Moog. I don't know. The bushings look nice, though. And the control arm, actually. Now, halfway through, it is time for comparison time. This is the old one from the passenger side, and this is the new one for the driver's side. Look at the difference in the size of this bushing. And look at this. I don't know if you can tell, but I can wiggle it back and forth with my hand easily. This one, nothing. Maybe a tiny bit. But yeah, that's hard as a rock. And the weight, this one's the slightest bit heavier, probably because of this bigger bushing. But overall, they're practically exactly the same. New one, way better. Old one, seen better days. It's the original 175,000 mile control arm. So yeah, next we'll go on to the shocks. So old versus new shocks, or struts. Without the spring, it's just a shock. So here's the old one. I can pick it up easily, push this down all the way, and barely comes back up. Now we'll see if that goes all the way back up while we mess with the new one. Here's the new one. I haven't uncompressed it yet, so we'll do that. Oh, here, we'll just... Already, it's way harder to push. Extends by itself. And barely push it down. Pops right back up. Yep. That's way better. Look how far that one's got. So I'd say it was time. Those are also original 175,000 mile shocks, struts. So let's put this one together. You got to throw the spring on it and the bellow and the shock, or the strut mount. All right, I've got that put together. Before I chuck that in though, I'm going to come over here and we're going to take lower control arm out first because it was a lot easier to get the ball joint on the knuckle with strut off. So I'm going to do that. Just short of being able to come out like that. Guess I'll have to take that off. All right, now that that came out, you saw it was pretty easy. And those are out. We just have to get that one out and it should come right out. All right, I've got the jack on a rubber tire stopper on this little brace that goes in between the oil pan and the transmission pan. I have it a little bit of pressure on it. I'm going to take those 3 bolts out and then these 2 that are underneath right there. If I could take it out that way, if not, I have to take those ones out as well. Now for these 2 down here. There we have it. Transaxle mount. Wow, maybe I should vacuum that out a bit. Yikes. There we go. Now I need to put this back on the jack stand, and then we can pull the lower control arm out. Just like that, lower control arm is out. Let's check out our bushing situation. Oh wow, yeah, that is bad. Let me set you down so you can get a view of this. That's just me easily. It's pretty cracked in there too. The ball joint, no ripped boots. Super easy to move though. All right. Let's check this bushing too. Now these ones actually didn't look too bad on both sides. Now look at the new one. I can't even move this. Nice beefy bushings. Nope, can't move that. Before we put this back on, I'm going to put some grease around this so it sits easier in there and it doesn't corrode to the aluminum. Then there's a nut on the other side that's locked into place. We'll screw it back in there till it's tight, and then we have to torque this at right height. All right, I cleaned this out as best as I could. That's paint. Now we need to throw the transaxle mount back into place. like we need to jack up the transmission the tiniest bit, and we'll throw the bolts in. All right, now it's time to throw the strut in right through here. And then we can jack this up to ride height and torque down that bolt right there. Okay, now I need to find this last bolt. And down here, we just turn this to where we need it, like that. And we line this up. Like so. And I'll do the rest. Okay, I've got the strut all bolted in and torqued. Got it bolted in up there and torqued as well. Now we have to get the jack underneath the lower control arm and make it ride height, and then we're going to torque that down to spec. Figure out ride height, I just jack this up until the body just barely starts to lift off the jack and the strut stops going up. So this is ride height. Now I need to get this crow's foot extension, hook it up to the torque wrench, and then that way we can get it right in on that and torque it properly. All right, so the first step to torque this, which is what I did with the rear bushing, those two nuts and bolts that went up in the back, it's first you do 37 foot-pounds and then you go back and do 90 degrees. So that's what I have to do with this one. I'd say it's tight when your brand new tool looks like that after. Okay, I almost forgot a very important piece. This goes in the bottom of the control arm right here, and we need this to grease it. All right, let's see if this has any pinholes like the other side. I don't see any. Looks good to me. Perfect. All right, and just like that, everything's torqued and put back together. I feel like there needs to be like a piece of plastic here. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, everything looks good. Ooh, it might be like, it might be exactly the same actually. Maybe like 1/4 of an inch taller. I have to drive it around too so it can settle. I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit taller to match the rear, but we'll see. Here's a bump. Oh, so much better. I still have to do the rear shocks. I still don't have that one. It's going to be here in a few days. But the front is so much better. The back is definitely bouncy though. Let me tell you, even without the rear shocks, it handles so much better. It's a lot more confidence inspiring and it just feels solid. Not to mention how much better the steering feels. It's a lot more smooth. I forgot to show you, I'll have to show you when I get back, but one of the bearings for the strut mounts on the old ones is completely cracked in half and falling apart. That was some of the major clunking noises we would hear as well. Here's this strut bearing. I don't remember what side it was, but yeah, it's a little destroyed. Original, 175,000 miles. Bad. Looks like something was rubbing there. It might have frozen. I don't know. All right, well, it's been a few days and we finally got the last piece of the puzzle, the shock that we were missing. There's both of them. Now let's get to installing them. This should be fairly simple. Gotta take the wheel off real quick. And then the mount is right there. There's two, I think they're 13s, 13 or 15, and then one big bolt at the bottom. You can't see it from here. And then the shock is out. All right, here's the old shock. See, the bolt is right there, right in the giant spider web, of course. So I'm going to undo these first, and then we can get the bottom one. Once those two are out, this just comes down like so. Then we can unscrew the actual shock out of there, which we will do after it's out of the car. As you can see, just push on it. Doesn't come back up at all. So this new one will definitely help out a lot. This just goes into the body, like on the inside, goes into the interior. All right, it's out. The bottom bolt seems to be a 21 millimeter right there. Now let's compare it to the old one. I mean the new one, yes, the new one's a lot better. Look at the comparison there. Well, the bolt on top of the shock, 17 millimeter. There's the mount. Oh wow, this thing's all oily. Must have been leaking a little bit, unless it's greased. It might be greased. But this original shock as well. Well, let's throw it on the new one. All right, the strut mount is on, not strut mount. The shock mount is bolted to the new shock. Now let's throw it in. Just like that. All right, the shock's in. Just have to torque the bottom to spec. Then let's move on to the other side. Cut this side out. Here's another way to easily tell that these are 100% original. The factory yellow paint mark still lines up on the mount and the shock. Look at that. And actually they're not that easy to push down, but it does not come back up. All right, let's get the new one thrown on. And just like that, the new shocks are installed. Now we have to drive it and see how it feels. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching this video. We got the front struts installed, lower control arms in the front installed, and the rear shocks installed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See ya.